Hello guys, welcome back to the next video in the C++ tutorial series. In today's video, we have data types and variables. You might be wondering what is data type and what are variables in C++, so here's the syntax. First off, we need to understand what the data types actually are. They're literally types of data that we can store into variables. For example, I can say int x is equal to 10. This is a variable, x. The data type is integer, and the value is 10. Let me get rid of this. And let me explain each one by one. We have integer as we just seen, so we can say int x, and then at the end of every single column or line, or declaration actually, we need to end it with a semicolon to indicate this is the end of the code line block. We're not writing any more code here. We have character, which is single letter characters like one quotation marks, like the single quotation marks. So we can say char as the data type, and then we can say what I can say I can say like why am I stuck on this? Character. How about that? That's the variable name. We're gonna say is equal to a. How about that? And a semicolon that. And this I have this character variable. This is the value, which is a. This will not work if I made it like AB like this right here, because it's supposed to be single character purpose. Then we also have bool, which we can write with bool, which is true or false. So bool, let's say in game development terms, is alive, is equal to false, or I can say true. Then let me end this semicolon, and then we also have string. So we have string is not in the actual like data type library. We have to say standard string, or we can come up here and we can include the string library in C++. And then, well, if we're using namespace standard, then I can just say string. But for this series, we're not going to be using this, so let's get rid of that. So I can say standard string, and I can say name. Yeah, standard string name is equal to Joe. How about that? Then we're going to say, let me see one more time. Yeah, string, okay. Name is equal to Joe. I'm going to say, capitalize this, name. Yeah, okay. Just making sure. Then we also have doubles and floats. Now, I mentioned integers up here. These are only whole numbers. A double is a long decimal number, so I can say double pi, for example. 3.14159,256. I don't know the rest. I had to remember this in high school. I think this is 257. I'm not sure. 6767. And yeah, this is for like 15 to 16 characters of decimal points. I can add a semicolon. And we have float. So if I say float, pi shortened, for example, 3.14. Just that much. Compared to the double would be the longer version. So a double is just a long sequence of decimals, while a float is just a short sequence. The reason why we have doubles and floats is because doubles take up 8 bytes of memory to hold the variable, while floats take up 4 bytes. So it's just a shorter version. So these are all our data types and variables. Now you may be wondering, what can we do with variables? Why do we even have variables? And why do we have to set these to values? What's the point of this? Well, we can reference these variables later. Like literally, we can reference these later whenever we want to use them. Instead of calling them over and over, we can simply reference the variable name, and then what the variable name will just give us, it will return us this value right here. So for example, what we can do is we can say standard C out. We can standard C out the name, so it's gonna print out Joe, and then I can say like I'm gonna say int age right here. Int age is equal to Joe is 22. How about that? Standard name is Joe is, and then we can say is right here age. Can't name like this, and then I'm gonna end line, and this is gonna print out if I run this, run code. This should print out Joe is 22. Joe is 22. Perfect. See, what makes a variable so useful compared to just writing out Joe right here is if I want to use this again, it's much easier to just keep referencing name, and it's better for code hygiene really, just keeping the code readable and nice for people who want to look at it or for you in the future, because chances are a month from now, if you look back at your code, you might not know what you're trying to say, and variables are a great way to actually speak to yourself or other people within your code. Some practical variable uses. So let's actually make some new ones. Some practical use cases of variables are like descriptions. Yeah. So let's try to make a player stats in a game, right? Let's say bool is alive is equal to true. Then we can say integer health is equal to 100. Don't forget your semicolons. And then I could say string name, or I can say character name is equal to link. Or actually, you know what? Well, I might get sued if I use that one. We use link. Yeah, Nintendo doesn't play. And then we can say damage. We'll make damage a float. How about that? And we'll say float player damage, and I'll make it 2.5. That's how much damage he does. And now I can just standard C out. Now we can do the character name. So character name does player damage, and I'm gonna say we're gonna say and health. Yeah. And health is right here. We're gonna space this out and say well, actually no, we can just say it like this, and then we can simply say health is health. And then I'm going to end the line right here, just like so. And if we run the code, Ling does 2.5 damage and his health is 100. Pretty cool. And yeah, that's data types and variables. To sum up what we just said, data types contain integers, characters, bools, string, doubles, and floats. All of these are used for different cases that we like, and variables are a way we can store data types and their values to use later in our code. We're going to be using variables for the rest of the series. I think you're going to be using it. No, I know. You'll be using it forever, variables, because you don't want to just keep hard coding. Another great like example of variables is, let's say I have like a functionality for, I don't know, increasing damage for a player, right? I would rather use player damage, or like even like, yeah, player damage to signify what I'm doing instead of 2.5. It makes it a lot easier to read and understand like what's going on here. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.